I have been doing lifestyle and food photography and creative content for 16 years. Almost every year, the business has doubled. And last year, I was like, it's time. It's time to take a leap and grow this business beyond my kitchen table. So we rebranded as Lark & Co. Creative Agency. I leased a commercial studio in the middle of Salt Lake City. And I decided that after years of doubting myself, it was time to trust myself, time to bet on myself, time to believe in myself. And the day that we were set to close on the studio, I remember I was sitting out on my back deck in the backyard and this blustery wind kicked up all around me. I remember thinking like, the winds of change are blowing, and I tried to let it be exciting, but it felt really foreboding. Sure enough, 2 weeks after opening the doors to the studio, my top paying client fell out. And then it was just a series of one unexpected turn after another. A deep betrayal by someone that I love, a breakup, business started limping along, and we went from thriving to barely surviving. And then in March, 1 year after opening, 2 of my staff members, my insanely talented, beautiful kids, decided that they were going to move to Chicago. It was an absolute adventure for them and a massive shift for us. I was overnight essentially empty nested. This May, as I dropped them off and said goodbye, and I drove out of town with the city disappearing behind me, a call came in from my long, stable client, and they said, "We're going in a different direction." And just like that, I was an empty nester, no job, this studio to pay for and manage and maintain. Bills were racking up, clients weren't answering back, and the heartbreak of this huge shift started weighing heavy. I realized I was just spinning. I felt untethered and ungrounded and absolutely unable to figure out what a girl was supposed to do with this entire blank slate. But the thing is that I'd been here before, like lots and lots of times. Life has handed me a lot of fresh starts, blown up and broken down stories in places that it's time for me to outgrow. As the shock has worn off in the weeks since, I started to sense there was this shift inside of me. I mean, don't worry, at first I railed against the sky, like, why would you take all of this from me? And what did I do to deserve all of this loss? And why do I have to keep surviving all of this heartbreak? I mean, I have survived parental abandonment as a kid and leaving my religion and 2 devastating divorces. And now, just when I thought that I had stabilized all of this loss at once, like, who is in charge here and why did they hate me? Those were some of my heaviest thoughts and my darkest days, and those were also the times when I'd felt the most stuck and small and afraid. But slowly, as I stood back and slowed down and started taking big breaths, I've started to see these glimmers. A few weeks before opening the studio way back last year, I had fallen exhaustedly into my bed. My days were being spent shooting this beautiful lifestyle content with crappy images of socks and toilet plungers. Like, what was I doing here? Every day of my life that I had created was this imprint of the day before. Just wake up, shoot, keep clients happy, send emails, reply to emails. When the month started over, the money started over, and the money only happened with this back-breaking, soul-bending work. I realized this was not the purpose-driven life and the authentic path that I had imagined for myself when I first started sharing my story back in 2011, and I'd really wanted to create beautiful things for the world. I said out loud, I don't want to work for clients anymore. I want the freedom to be myself and work for myself and to work from anywhere and to have lucrative streams and multiple streams of income from lots of sources. I want my life to go where the money doesn't matter. And as she always does, the universe listened. She gave me everything that I needed to create everything that I want. Time, space, freedom, a blank slate, no clients calling, no kids running in and out of the house, a calendar wide open, and a studio where creation and connection could start to happen. Holy crap, it's time. I've realized it's time to get over myself and take advantage of this wide open field of everything that I've asked for. So a couple of weeks ago, I'd met with a few wise business people and I looked at numbers and I decided to smartly monetize Lark Studios by turning it into a co-working space. It's what everybody said this place should be. So we planned for a 1-month free membership to launch the concept. And on day 1, I wept because it was kind of a disaster. And by day 4, I knew that it wasn't right. One of the things that I'm learning is that when you decide to step off script and let the universe guide you and really start to trust your own gut, is that you actually have to learn how to trust your gut, no matter what it looks like. And so less than 1 week into that, I closed our co-working concept. I worked to deal with really disappointed clientele that I really felt like I was letting down. And I was faced once again with this blank slate of like, oh my God, now what? I've been pretty wickedly hard on myself in the 2 weeks since. Like, why can't I get this? And why can't I figure this out? And I felt a lot of pressure from previous voices weighing on me. I've had wonderful friends say terrible things like, everything Brooke makes is magic, or Brooke is such a good businesswoman. Everything she touches turns to gold. But no, that's not true. It hasn't. And in fact, if you look even non-objectively at the last year of my life, it actually appears that everything I touch has gone to absolute shit. But here we are again. I have the studio, I have no job, I have bills racking up, and something has to be done. And I'm the one that saves myself. And so I've started to pay close attention to myself. Every night I've had this heart filled with fantastic ideas. And then every morning I would wake up with this like paralyzing self-doubt. And I was like, okay, this pattern is asking me to look at it. I couldn't decide like which of my ideas should I act on. And then when I did decide, I would see 100,000 other paths that I could have, should have taken, and I would just stop and not know what to do. Here's one of the most powerful lessons that I have been learning along this unexpected way, is when fear or hard things hit, lean into them. Don't run away. Hold them between your hands with gentle curiosity and ask them what they're trying to teach you. And so I've been doing that. And suddenly my fear, instead of being this hot welling horror that I've been trying to push down inside of me, has started to become my teacher. It has showed me that no matter how much success I've achieved thus far, somewhere inside of this girl is a good girl who's been raised with screaming criticism and cruel and diminishing words and a really heavy need to be perfect and to be loved. So inside of that, aha number 1. In order for me to level up my life, I have to let go of all of the ideas that I've ever internalized that I'm not good enough or I'm not smart enough, and this is really common for kids that are raised with emotionally immature parents, that somehow I am not real enough to be capable of being anything I want, anytime I want, like other people are. Such a strange disconnect, but I have this. Then I had aha number 2. It came when I started to listen to the stories that were coming up inside of myself. I started to see that on the days when I didn't trust myself, it's because I was sitting in this brain swirl of fear. Most especially this massive fear of money failure. And so as each of those fears arose, I've started to write them down, and I'll look at them and I'll ask myself, when did someone teach me this thing that it's something that I should be afraid of? Or when did I see someone behave with emotional reaction to this very fear? And would you believe it? In almost every case, I've started to realize that my money fears have all been my parents' internalized insecurities internalized into my own body. Okay, then, now that I've started to see this, I can start to slow down when these money fears hit and say, hey, I know that this is something that you've learned, but it doesn't have to be true if you'd like to learn a better way. And as I started to do that, I would feel myself kind of back in the driver's seat of my decision making, wide open to learning, not fucking up at all, totally capable of accepting help, able to try on new things and make mistakes, which really aren't mistakes at all. They're just learning opportunities. And suddenly in all of this, oh my God, I reminded myself that, girl, you are just weeks into this major life shift. So you're new at trying on new things, and I am allowed to be gentle and patient as I learn those new things that I need to learn. Okay, so then finally there's been this self-doubt. As I have looked with gentle curiosity and honesty at my own patterns, I see and I've seen that I'm filled with this tremendous thrill when a good idea comes through, but then taking even one faith-filled step into the dark toward bringing that good idea to life fills me with so much paralyzing self-doubt. I actually find myself just like catatonic and doom scrolling and snack eating as I try to escape the terror of self-grounding enough to create something from scratch. So over the years, as I've started picking apart my patterns, I've done a lot of reparenting practice. And what I see here is a little girl who needed and who needs a loving mentor. So hang in there with it. I've turned to AI. Here's idea number 3. I've started to pour my ideas into ChatGPT and ask for guidance, a day-by-day business plan, and a shortcut analysis of expert-driven action. Suddenly, I actually have a business plan, but I've also created this hand-holding experience for myself. I've spent hours and days telling AI all of my hopes and fears and dreams and internal complications and money dreams. And that's where you come in, right here today. Today is the day that I start to make a major shift in my life. Lark Studios is no longer a co-working space, it's a creative incubator for me. Over the next many weeks, I will be working with AI to produce, build, and practice a whole new custom business plan, written by AI and carried out by yours truly. Along the way, I will be sharing the whole process with you, the prompts that I'm writing, the choices that I'm choosing, and the results that I'm getting. The initial idea is to let Lark Studios become a creative incubator, a place where I intentionally craft my own custom, purpose-driven path guided by AI, and also a place where you can come and do the same. 2 weeks ago, I would have said that the co-working experience was an absolute fail, but here's the thing, there is no fail. There's just what we try and where we are and what we learn. And today, because of that co-working experiment, I know something more about myself than I did before we tried it. I know that I don't just want to build some franchise studio that brings in lifeless subscription money. I don't want to create another corporation or franchise or purposeless paycheck. What I know now about myself is that there are 2 things that I want my life to be about. 1, creating beautiful things, and 2, telling beautiful stories. I want to do life in the way that I was made to do it. I want to walk my path and open my life to the possibilities that I was made to create. And along the way, I hope that as I learn how to do that, I can inspire you to do the same for you. As I look back over the last many blank slates that I've been given, all of the times when life as I knew it, I thought was over, abandonment, leaving religion, divorce, empty nesting, job loss, there is one single common thread that has helped me restart quickly and powerfully, and that is sharing my story. For the last 3 years, I've been working on a beautiful video podcast, and I know you've been hearing about it and you haven't seen it yet. But Good Mama Magic, How I Lost My Religion, Hitchhiked Away from Marriage, Discovered Magic, and Met the Mother is this close to being to you. It's almost here. It's almost done. I cannot wait to share that part of my story with you. It's been such a labor of love, and I cannot wait to bring it to you. In the meantime, I am going to be here sharing my everyday story of being in this hugely transformative space in my life. My guess is that so many of you are in those places too, in the middle of huge life shifts, divorce, sickness, healing, job loss, empty nesting, menopause, restarting school, shifting careers. The world is like massively changing beneath our feet, and I know I'm not the only one. I know this because that's what life is. It's a whole wild journey of high mountains and hills and valleys and vistas. And wherever you are on your journey, I want you to know this, that you are not alone. You are doing better than you think, and you are exactly where you need to be to get where you are going. Trust where you are, be present in it. Let the fear teach you. And if you feel so inspired, follow along with me. I would love to have you walking this next wild phase at my side, and I'll be here to be at yours. Here we go. With love, Lark.